For paddling, we talk a lot about invasive species and proper protocols there, making sure you are prepared, you use personal fluoridation devices and have all that. So that is a campaign that we continue to work on. Our winter program is really focused around talking about preparedness for spending time in the backcountry during the winter. Especially in 2020, we saw a trend actually nationwide of people as they were looking just to escape urban areas and looking to get outside and looking for something to do. A lot of first-time users, people that are getting back into nature and visiting the Adirondacks as well for the first time. So making sure that this information would be really relevant to them as well. Again, if you have any questions, ideas, don't be afraid to chime in.
This is Leslie. I have a question.
Yes.
You just said that the Love Your 80K campaign is an opportunity to disperse use, and I guess I hadn't thought about it in that way. Is that like an active opportunity that really kind of funnels people, or is it just sort of an idea that's out there for people?
So here's a great example, and we definitely try to weave that in. So one thing that we, talking back to our email marketing campaign, one thing that we did over the summer, and actually is where we kind of tested that behavior email, where I talked about that winter one where people go to the website 2 days later, they email. During the summer, what we did, and we put kind of a rule across all of the 7 or 8 different websites that Roost represents, and anything that was a hiking page, for example, if people ended up on like the primary hiking page or a listing for Mount Marcy or a listing for Coney Mountain or OK Slip Falls, no matter what website it was and what listing it was, and they're in our system, 2 days later immediately we would send them an email like, oh, you're interested in hiking, here's some tips, in the Love Your 80K information, and here's some great alternative hikes. So we continue to add like alternative hikes and keep highlighting different hiking options using that, for example. So that was one thing that we did. We've done in the past, a lot of times we'll do like, we've done like seasonal maps in local 80K magazine, for example, with like, different hidden gems in different areas of the Adirondacks. And so we leverage a lot of different things to try to promote like alternative hiking locations. And, especially in 2020, like people are looking for that space, they're craving their own space. They're looking to get outside. So it really resonated. So we're continuing to look at ways that we can try to, really talk about other popular areas or popular hikes or ideas and entice that. So we do weave those 2 messages together with the Love Your 80K campaign. Does that answer your question, Leslie? Or do you have other ideas?
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So we're always looking at other ways that we can like disperse, move people around. And, the one thing is you don't want to move. We always said when we started this campaign, like the education is number 1, because even if you're just dispersing and say, don't go here, go there, you're just moving the problem from one area to another. So you want to make sure that education piece like is the first one, and then okay, now that you've read through this, now try this, so those are the pieces. No, that's a great question. Any other questions on Love Your 80K? So in October, we announced our partnership with Travel Unity. And Travel Unity is a not-for-profit that focuses on diversity, equity, and inclusion in the travel space. And what we're doing is we are one of 7 tourism either destinations or companies across the world. For example, Visit Thailand is another one that's in this, what they're calling the first cohort. And what that means is we are like really doing a pilot program, which will eventually become a certification program that Travel Unity offers to any sort of travel like destination or travel related business in the future. So we're part of that pilot program to create this certification process. And what it's really allowing us to is access to a wide network of experts in different areas of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And they're working on really 3 primary categories, so management and workforce, and that's us looking inward. With that, we are doing a series of different educational workshops, and also like different assessment surveys, and helping with ideas on how to be more inclusive as an organization. And then from there, it'll flow into visitorship and community impact. So there may be pieces from the education that we can share with our community partners, and ideas, and different projects as well. So one of the first things we're working on is really an accessibility audit. And with the accessibility audit, is what we're doing is looking at really around the entire region, looking at things that are accessible amenities, attractions. And Tupper Lake is very well positioned with the Wild Center, all of the new developments at the waterfront park and in the multi-use trail. So those accessible experiences, so we can put together accessible travel itineraries and pages, and other content. We're actually working with the Tri-Lake Center for Independent Living, and also include on looking at being able to, these locations said they're accessible. They will help us with validating that, helping provide models for photo shoots, so that if we're marketing accessible travel, that people are seeing people that are in their peer group. So that's one example of the type of work that we're doing, as we build this roadmap with Travel Unity.
I have a question just regarding the accessibility audit. You all talked with our friends at New York State ESD or I Love New York about that audit. I know, we've been talking with them for a few years at this point about something like that. And I know that there's already a pretty robust list that exists that they've done. I'm just wondering if you all have tapped into their resources in terms of that audit. It might save a lot of time.
Yes, and so they do have a high level list that we're using kind of as a base, a starting point, and then looking at, we also have that spot too where theirs is really on attractions, is one of their primary pieces on that list, and so then we'll have like a restaurant, for example, that's like, or a lodging property that's we want to be on that accessible list, and we just want to be careful. So that's where we're folding in like the Tri-Lake Center for Independent Living. So they're helping, like, okay, so they can go out and there's no charge associated, and they'll do kind of like an assessment of the location and help provide like points and tips on and to help validate that. So we're trying to take that to that next level as well. So that is great.
Great, and we've hosted a Travel Unity conference just last year, I think. So if there's any, we have a pre-existing relationship with them as well. I know that you all have obviously been working with them pretty intimately recently, but if there's anything that the Wild Center can do to help out with that relationship, we're happy to do.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And like another great example is like, telling authentic stories. And one of the best ways to tell authentic stories that represents a wide range of diverse populations is to really invite travel writers here, and partnering with them so they can tell their story in their own authentic voice. Often we'll look to like partner with them to do media shoots while they're here. And when you and I, we chatted, and Katie and stuff, we chatted about that a little bit in the fall, and then the weather didn't kind of work out in timelines, but that's something we definitely want to look towards, trying to accommodate some of that in the 2021. Great discussion. I think any other pieces? So I'm going to touch on a couple more high-level projects, and then I'm going to hand the reins back over to Katie. Another thing that we're adding, and this is actually kind of similar to that welcome email that we talked about, we'll be adding a first-time visitor page to tupperlake.com. That really is that page that really helps people that may have never been to Tupper Lake before, may just be hearing about it, sees an ad or learns about the Wild Center, wants to learn more about what else Tupper Lake has to offer, building out that type of page on Tupper Lake. So it'll have video content. It'll be very visually driven and help get people to the information that they are most relevant to them. It'll have maps and directional information, the information on what you need to pack, and all that information really to help familiarize yourself with booking that first trip to Tupper Lake. We're also really, in the fall, we relaunched Adirondack Wayfinder. And Adirondack Wayfinder, I'll actually link out to it in a second here, but Adirondack Wayfinder is a trail-based system where we create thematic road trips and itineraries of different pins and points in the Adirondack. So it links together different communities. Sometimes we do like arts trails, or we'll do history trails or beer trails. And then sometimes we'll do more like based on the traveler party. So we have some like motorcycle touring loops and, you know, family fun itineraries, or, you know, solo adventures, just trying to touch on different touch points. And what's nice about Adirondack Wayfinder is it kind of follow the traveler from that, you know, we can put them out. We went out actually this week for Black History Month that tied together historic places and actually tells a story of Goodman Mountain on that trail. And I'm going to go through one that's seeing the stars and talks about different places in the Adirondacks that are great for stargazing. And so, you know, you'll see whether it's on social media or people are browsing on the website or see an ad and they may be interested in stargazing and this appeals to them. So they end up on this page. And what it really does is builds a map of like iconic stargazing locations. So specific to Tupper Lake on this trail, we have the Adirondack Public Observatory or the Adirondack Sky Center. Someday I will learn to rename that. The Adirondack Sky Center and Observatory. If I want to learn more, it actually takes me to the Tupper Lake website, and that's that new pop-up window. And it also features Coney Mountain and some of our newer stargazing shots with Ted and Gordy in our recent video. So you have a variety of different locations for stargazing. What's really nice about this is, so now this looks really cool. I'm very interested in doing something like this, but I don't really have time to hike multiple mountains. You know, I'm only going to be there for 2 days. So that's where it allows me to modify and remove some locations. And now I have, you know, a great trail from Tupper Lake that goes to Port Henry. And there's my 4 stops for stargazing. So there's 2 days of awesome stargazing. So you can also modify it, and we want to look in, and I'm sorry if I'm making you dizzy. It went too fast. So here I am in Tupper Lake. I don't have to zoom in this far first, but you can add food. You can show where the lodging's located in relation to the points. So turned off lodging. Well, now I've decided that I want to add Northwood Cabins to my trail. And so you see the extra pin where I've added Northwood Cabins. But this is like the biggest modification with this is it takes it from that kind of early planning stage to actually once you leave your door. So you can actually do also some modifications. So say I am coming from, let's say, Syracuse. Actually, if I type in, let's say Oswego. I'm coming from Syracuse Ave in Oswego. What happens is, no matter where you're coming from, it'll remodify those pins and move that order, so it makes the shortest loop. And when you don't have to do just a one-way and back, because people do prefer that looping tour, it'll make a circular loop. So instead of coming from Syracuse, I'm actually coming from Albany. And then,
since you mentioned my property, I'll ask the question. Can we, can we link to this or embed this into our website as well?
You can provide links to any of these as well. And what's really nice,
Okay.
you can actually you can actually create trails and share them on your site. If you make those modifications, and actually if you wanted to, for example, use a beer trail or some of the other trails on there, if you put your starting address here and then share the link, whoever will open it, so you hit share and use this link, Ryan, and then if they open it, if they open it from your site, they would actually see that trail starting from your location. So
Oh, all right. Very good.
so then once, now this looks really cool, I'm going to start in Port Henry, loop to Tupper Lake, make that my overnight at Northwood Cabins. I'll do Coney Mountain in the observatory and hit Newcomb on the way home. There's my loop. What you do then is you hit start, and it actually will take you right to Google Maps, which is, especially, this is all mobile, this was built mobile first, so that when you're on your phone, it'll push it to Google Maps, and then you can sync it right with your car's navigation system. So it really turns from like that dreaming and planning to, leaving the door and actually experiencing. This content, it's really at its infancy. We started really launching it or we relaunched it in September, and a lot of the trails at that time, we had to, we really focused on outdoor, wide open spaces, experiences like that. But we do have a variety of like art trails and museums and historical trails that the amenities just weren't open in 2020 that we're really excited about adding in as soon as those establishments are open. And it's, the possibilities are almost limitless. So this is where we're working with a lot of partners around the region to build different trails and itineraries. And if you ever have any ideas or thoughts on, what would be a really cool trail, or you happen to see a trend that, people leave the Wild Center and they love to go here, so let's build an itinerary out based on that, for example, feel free to reach out to Katie and we can work to build those trails. Now that the way the system's built, it uses just the listings on all of our sites, so it's not like all that information you need to start from scratch, building out the trails so we can put them together pretty quickly. And just two other quick points, because I want to give the reins back to Katie. We did update the Adirondack Snowmobile app, and we've been continuing to monitor, making sure like any properties along the snow, any food and lodging and gas along the corridor are up to date. Reviewing, we GPSed 2 winters ago a lot of the trails for that app, continuing to monitor that. So that snowmobile app is in the App Store on Apple and Google Play. It is free. It works when you're not in service, and so that's something that we're continuing to really promote. We actually, this week as the snow fell, again, we did like a powder alert to our snowmobile list across all of our regional sites with, reminding them about the snowmobile app, and also the information that Katie had worked with a lot of partners around the region on as like tips on snowmobiling this season. Things like, how to navigate dining, calling ahead, items such as that. And the final item is just talking about the resource toolkit that we continue to add information to. So this is a place where we keep a link of some professional photos that we've taken in the Tupper Lake region that anyone's welcome to use. If there's a partner that's looking for something specific, for example, Katie had mentioned yesterday that, they were looking for some very specific golf photos. So if they're not in our library, we can help share for whatever project it may be. We also keep things like, here's a flyer that we've put out that's available in both printed and digital formats that helps with tips on how to safely ice fish. We have our Politely Adirondack information's there. Those are the animal signage that talks about, wearing a mask, social distancing and all the other health and safety protocols. So, you know, during the winter, we added the Shop 80K toolkit stuff around the holidays. We'll have some new stuff that's non-seasonal that's coming very soon. So that's continuing to be updated regularly. And that's a great resource for people for different materials that they're welcome to use. And Katie.
Okay. So these are a few community projects I'm excited to work on again this year. The Discover My Tupper Lake, we're continuing to work on this grant for the village. Includes 10 different videos, some you've already seen. We started out with 2 economic development based videos, talking to different business owners in Tupper Lake and why they opened their business in Tupper Lake. And then we moved into, there's going to be 8 videos that follow locals that are passionate about different activities in the area. And they tell their story of, you know, we're passionate about ice fishing, but it enhances their life in Tupper Lake and why it makes it a great place to live. So you might have seen the most recent one, the night sky viewing with Gordy Duval and Ted Merrihew. We've done cross-country skiing with the Snai family, fall hiking with the Charche family. We've done arts, paddling, and then we have 3 left to put together. And a few of those haven't been released yet, but we're continuing to release them at the appropriate times throughout the year. And they're doing really well on social media and our YouTube channels. And then we're also incorporating the videos into the correct pages on tupperlake.com. So if people are on the website and they click on paddling, a beautiful video pops up and talks about a few different paddles in the area, and just entices that a little bit more. Last year I worked with a committee focused on events in the region and making sure, you know, throughout the summer, the busier season, you know, we didn't have any overlap of events and on the same day, and making sure things were spaced out, as well as getting a weekly update in the free press every week for those of our visitors or locals that do not go on the computer as much, making sure that that information is available in the free press. So I'm anxious to get started on that again as hopefully events unfold in the future. As always, we're here for design support. We're currently working on a little bit larger project for the cross-country ski trails, a larger gateway signage design, as well as some wayfinding design throughout the trails. And then last year we had plans to work with the Arts Center and the band shell about some signage to put out, you know, when there's a concert, put out by the road at the main intersection, you know, so people see like concert today with some arrows. So designing that sort of stuff, we can always help out with, as well as, you know, river pig signage. We're looking forward to hopefully get back into all of that this spring and have it all ready for summer. You know, continuing to work with the town and village to prepare our community to be bike ready for when the rail trail is a usable thing. So, you know, working to install bike racks throughout the community, water bottle fill stations, things like that. And then as well as making sure that it's, you know, people that have that knowledge that there's the Junction Pass Trail for that connector to get uptown, to get into town. So just continue to work on that, as well as promote new developments in the town, you know, like the Crossroads Heritage signage that'll be installed for this summer, or new developments at the Wild Center. So that's part of that communication, just making sure, you know, any new developments that you hear of or have, just shoot my way. The more we know, the better.
Oh. So now we'll get into some more specific summer stuff. Did anyone have any questions so far? Okay.
So this is actually last summer's landing page. So what a landing page is, for people that don't know, is if a visitor sees an ad or a social media post or wherever they click on it, it'll take you to this landing page last summer, which highlights all of the high-level points for Tupper Lake family travel in the Tupper Lake region for the summer. So the Wild Center, stargazing, the Tupper Lake triads, wide open spaces, especially this past summer, people wanted to have their own areas, kid-friendly fun, kid-friendly dining. So each of these blocks, you can click out to a story on tupperlake.com and it gives you more information on that activity. So this is last summer's example. We are just about to get started on this summer's. So for this summer, we'll have continued focus on those outdoor activities, the Tupper Lake triads, pushing that paddling triad. We had a great turnout for a start last summer, but with we have a new paddling video, and the one from last year, we're hoping to make some strides in that paddling triad, and then continuing to push on golf, the beach, stargazing, the Wild Center, the fresh air, wide open spaces. We're positioned well for people that are still a little bit anxious and want to be, away from people and have their own space. Like the Bog and the Tupper Lake, waterfront park and places like that, as well as connecting with nature and learning new experiences. We're using that this winter quite a bit with the Wild Center, learning to ice fish and learning to snowshoe and all of the great opportunities there, as well as the family-friendly road trip itineraries and using Wayfinder like Michelle showed a bit ago. And tying into everything, the know before you go travel updates that we have the banner on tupperlake.com, but just making sure that's up to date and that people know what to expect before they arrive here to help keep everybody safe.
Just to elaborate a little bit more on that, like learn new experiences, we definitely saw in 2020, not just here in the Adirondacks, but a little bit everywhere, people were looking to get back into more and more outdoor experiences. The Adirondacks as a whole, data showing that there was a lot of first-time visitors or people may have not visited the Adirondacks in many years that were returning. And just looking at the sales trends and trying to find a new pair of cross-country skis this year or any kind of outdoor equipment, you're seeing that it's selling and people are looking to get outdoors. And the Tupper Lake really is positioned well. Like the Triad, for example, is a great first challenge for people to try. We've always said, marketed them as family-friendly hikes, 1 mile round, each way. A great entry-level hike. Then it ties really well with the message, your experience at the Wild Center for families, for winter as well. So, continue to build off of highlighting those, not extreme pieces, but really great experiences that are great for first times, for families, etc. There's definitely one thing that you're seeing missing from here, and that is those events and, arts and cultural pieces. Just because it's not here on that primary landing page, we like Katie had mentioned as she went through her slides earlier, as we start to get data and information as to, what if any events are happening and, what the Arts Center is able to pull off this year, will help market those separately and like weave it into that primary landing page. But, we learned in 2020 what things we know are available and built, starting with that foundation and adding on those extras and as, icing on the cake as they come back online. Any thoughts? Concerns, things that might be missing?
Michelle, I just wanted to let you guys know, some of this is information, but the Art Center, we're working with the Art Center, and we're working with Barney Bellinger, who's an Adirondack well-known rustic artist, and he's doing some really incredible metalworks. And we are likely going to be having installation of his work early in the season for the year. And also we have contracted with a internationally known artist, Patrick Doherty, who does something that you can check out online called Stickworks, which he's installed all over the place. There are these stick sculptures, and that'll be in the late season. So I know you have sort of characterized the Art Center as outdoor activity here. It will be also the arts, you know, as we've kind of forayed into that in the past. It'll be an opportunity. It will be outdoors. But it's going to let us use some of our different spaces, the musical forest, and some of our other spaces off Wild Walk and in some of our wooded areas in different ways to offer the public opportunities, some participatory, some visual, to be outside in different ways, consistent with some of the things we've done in the past. It's a get outside experience as well, but just to give people more things to do, just like with our expansion in our winter get outside opportunities. You know, we're doing the nighttime things now with the wild lights, expanding our hours so that we can have our capacity, safe capacity, but more hours so we can bring more people out and give people something else to do, because it's so hard these days without much to do in the evening. So the staff came up with a safely distant, COVID safe outdoor experience that we could share. And that is also an arts experience because Nick was able to work with a composer to compose the music for that experience. So even though it's an outdoor activity, it's also an arts activity in the sense that it's a sensory experience. It's outdoor, yes, it's healthy, yes, it's safely distant, but it's also in a sense an arts experience. So we're trying to provide what we can for the community and be whatever we can collaboratively with artists from the region. So, you know, just trying to think along those lines, and when we're promoting things, not pigeonhole it into one category of outdoor or recreation, making sure we know that we are, you know, if you're trying to use an algorithm and say, we're going to market it to this type of person or this type of visitor, know that you can reach out to your arts people as well as your outdoor people. Those visitors may also be interested in these activities.
No, I think that's great. I first off, before we get into the art side, I just want to say kudos to the Wild Center on the wild lights and, you know, thinking outside the box. Once again, you know, that has been amazing. And so it's really exciting. But, you know, as you talk about that, it's really exciting with the arts installations, and that's where we can leverage things like also like Adirondack Wayfinder to tie together other outdoor art installations around the Adirondacks, and, or, you know, create those itineraries as well. So that is really exciting.
Is there any other thoughts or feedback? Interesting things coming our way?
Well, I'd just like to say this was a great presentation, and you guys are working so hard behind the scenes for Tupper Lake, everybody, the Wild Center, Roost, I mean, everybody. It's wonderful, and I see all kinds of things on social media of all the activities people have been doing over the winter. So you certainly have been able to keep everyone busy, safely busy, and I appreciate that. So on behalf of the town and Tupper Lake, I mean, for crying out loud, you guys have done a great job in this difficult time. Hopefully it will be coming to an end soon. But keep up the good work. We appreciate it. We know that you're doing a great job. And can we get a copy of this slide presentation so we can share it with our other board members who weren't able to get on today?
Sure.
Because it's pretty interesting. And that the wayfinding is very, very cool, Michelle. I mean, I think that's really interesting, and I think it'll be very popular for people.
You know, I think that especially it's very relevant now is that that iconic American road trip has definitely come back. And, So, you know, tugging on the, you know, a lot of the imagery we'll use to promote that is those, you know, open air cart, you know, back on the open, beautiful roads, the Adirondacks to these.
Yep.
And
Nick, I haven't been up to see the wild lights yet, but I'll be there. I'm just waiting for it to warm up a little bit. So I'll be there. I hear nothing but good about it. So that's
You
wonderful.
let me know, and we'll set some tickets aside. Thankfully, I think Hannah and family have been able to visit a couple times. So
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
yeah, it's great.
This is Brian at Northwood Cabins. Just, you know, last year when all this COVID, you guys did a really good job addressing that and really pivoting to deal with that circumstance. Hopefully, you know, when things turn around as Roost, do you have a plan to then kind of pivot back and like the Adirondacks are open, welcome to, you know, is there going to be some type of marketing to kind of get the word out that we're back in so more normal times?
And so, yeah, we did, like, as we went from like the Adirondacks will be here was kind of the messaging when we were in that like pause now, play later, encouraging people not to visit. And then as, you know, things, you know, the North Country went through that reopening, we really, and also that was the time where it was beautiful out and there was the outdoor dining and there was a little bit more movement regionally. We marketed very regionally and was looking at like explore more and really focusing on that outdoor fresh air. So, you know, we you know, would, and we talked about doing like, we're open last summer, but when some things are open and then we haven't really been closed. So we're exploring exactly what that very specific messaging is, but we are going to continue to kind of ramp up, you know, what we're marketing and who we're marketing to.
Yeah.
And also, Michelle, I think it's important to say, you know, we've never left the marketplace. You know, we've always continued to keep ourselves in front of the travelers and top of mind. And like Michelle has said, that, you know, our reach was regional 2 to 3 hours, you know, in circumference. And of course, we had a tremendous amount of traffic this summer, you know, and then even going into the fall, this winter has been, you know, a little bit, you know, up and down with different, and, you know, the pandemic and et cetera, but we are 100% prepared this spring, you know, to get out into the marketplace. And, you know, we have a plan to really promote the Adirondacks again, while keeping in mind the communities and the safety, knowing that, you know, there's no end date to this at this point, but when the time is ready, we have all of our pieces in place to reach out more aggressively.
And in the follow-up, I think there's 2 things on that. Is like Katie will be sending out the full marketing plan that talks about that and who that targeting audience is. And, you know, I think we've learned actually, you know, we've been moving towards that. We're open since, you know, last May or June. Unfortunately, it's not like a light switch. It's more like a faucet. So by the time you know, so we'll continue to expand what is open. You know, one thing we are working on is kind of doing more of a splash of the new things that are open, as like, for example, the Adirondack Experience Museum of Blue Mountain Lake, which we know a lot of people that come to Tupper Lake also visit that facility as those reopen. So starting to show, you know, the new things that are being added online. And then our targeting will start to reach out. One thing we have, you know, keeping in mind, you know, our communities is we have not been targeting, you know, outside of New York or even the normal further, you know, Southwestern New York. We've been really keeping in, you know, all of the regions into that 3-4 hour drive to market, just from a safety and precaution. And that, you know, we also, as numbers go up, we kind of pull back tighter. You know, it's been very flexible and agile as we've navigated through 2020 and into 2021.
Yeah, I mean, we're just not, I mean, people kind of they're doing it themselves. We're seeing obviously no Canadian business. And while our bookings for the summer are up this year, they're staying within that kind of geographic area that you mentioned. We're not seeing anything south of, you know, New Jersey. You know, I'm just wondering that if at some point, you know, where, you know, if New York State opens up, would you guys be piggybacking on that or just kind of letting it go organically?
Yeah, and then that messaging, then, you know, we're back would make, what would be the message that people in New Jersey would see. You wouldn't actually see it. We wouldn't, that's one thing about, like, we target that ad so people in New Jersey would say, you know, the Adirondacks were back, come visit.
But our plan is not to let it happen organically, you know, so when the time is right that, you know, New York opens up and everything returns to normal, we will go back to a much more aggressive marketing plan, you know, and also, you know, keeping in mind the safety protocol. So, you know, we probably will still promoting wear a mask and all of the other CDC guidelines until, you know, sometime into the future where that's no longer recommended. Which we hope is sooner rather than later.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
I'd just like to add on Patty's comments. We're really pleased with all the hard work you guys are doing, and I want to thank you for it. Specifically, one of my key areas of interest is our cross-country trails, and I've been working with Katie and Angie on new maps. We've got some temporary ones up there, thanks to Patty's son, Owen Littlefield. But I talked specifically about, and maybe I'm getting too technical, but like a barcode or a UPC code on the map that someone could scan in. Seems like none of the generations younger than I am go anywhere without their smartphone. If you could have a map on your phone, that might be helpful. I talked to a map geek buddy of mine, and he talked about this app called Venza, where you basically have your map scanned in and it'll show you exactly where you are on the trail. I don't know how possible that is to work that into it. I think, you know, there's room for improvement for our maps to make it so they're more understandable. You know, anytime I meet somebody out in the trail, I try and explain the map. A lot of head scratching. A lot of people just don't know how to read a map, I guess. So that's why they have all these GPS things.
Absolutely.
And have you gotten any sense of numbers as far as people visiting these various sites for Tupper Lake specifically? I know we're talking about the plan.
Yeah. So let's start with, first off, just saying that the cross-country ski trails have looked beautiful this year. Looking at just the numbers in the parking lot is impressive, so nice job. The next piece with the scanner and the more digitalized version of the map, definitely a very easy piece that we could do is that the QR code, which have come a long ways since they first were introduced. And when they first came out, you had to have a special app just to read the QR codes. Now, what's nice about them is if they're on something, all you have to do is point your camera at them on a phone and it takes you right to that page. So that's very, very easy to do, and we're implementing into a lot of our materials. So that's an easy fix, as well as looking into some kind of digital navigation maps. With regard to, like, for numbers of people that were at the cross-country ski trails.
I'm thinking of, I mean, you've got lots of cool stuff out there, a lot of stuff on the web and social media. And I'm just wondering, to get with this plan as far as a metric of how successful it is, are we getting a lot of hits or site visits?
Yep.
Or
oh yes, we can most definitely, in the follow-up email, we can also send some social traffic kind of end of year numbers as well.
Okay, great, thank you.
I think it's what's interesting to see, actually, and we can include the chart of how numbers went, is where you can see that drop in web traffic on March 13th, where it just kind of plummeted out. And I'm sure many of us watching theirs, and then you kind of see it kind of slowly come back up and then pass, or, you know what I mean, where it was the year before, as people are itchy to get out. So it's actually, it tells an interesting story that if you didn't know the context, would be really scary looking at those year-over-year numbers, but it definitely tells where and seeing that growth and return to people being excited to visit the Adirondacks and Tupper Lake.
Well, our trailheads seem to show it.
I'm not sure who is on from the Franklin County Economic Development. Is that Jeremy? Is that you, or is it Kelly? No.
That's me. Hi.
Hi, Jeremy.
Jeremy.
I'm not sure if you want to chime in on, we've been definitely talking about, the 7 counties that make up the Adirondack Regional Tourism Council, designated by I Love New York. We are excited that we're partnered together to purchase some mobile tracking data so we can get some little bit more real-time information on, age demographics and where people are coming from. So each county, the TPA has signed up, and there's some 7 different points of interest so we can get monthly data on. I'm not sure, Jeremy, if you want to talk about the points of interest that you're looking at for Tupper.
Sure. Yeah, this is pretty exciting. I can't wait to see how it all goes. But we, for Tupper Lake, we chose the Wild Center as our location for the mobile tracking. I don't know what the timeline, I can't remember what the timeline was, Michelle.
He said we might have the first look at it by March, but full access by late spring. But what's really nice is that it also will give us back 3 years worth of information. And then, so we can see we heard anecdotally, and we are also seeing in different numbers that the traveler was a little bit different in 2020 than maybe previous years. So being able to see some real data to show those differences is exciting. And
we also, oh, go ahead.
And just the other nice thing is you can also see that correlation of what points of interest and what those areas that we're tracking, that we're able to track. You can see that somebody may have been driven up the toll road or the Whiteface Memorial Highway, visited the Wild Center, and went to the Adirondack Experience Museum. So, there's 7 points in Franklin County that you've selected. You want to? I'll give him I'll stop talking now, Jeremy.
No, it's good. What you're talking about is the best part of this is that by all joining in together, we get to share all of the data, so that it's not like for Franklin County we can't see how people are then going to Hamilton County or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Each county will be the data across the entire region, and I think most of the state for that matter. So it's going to be, all new to us, but I'm really excited to see how it all looks like.
In Hamilton County, I selected most of the business districts, so you can know who's going to that main drag in Long Lake and spending time there, or the main area in Indian Lake, or sorry, in Inlet. You know what I mean? Spending time in those different locations. Did you do anything like that for Franklin County?
We did downtown Saranac Lake. We did it pretty big because it incorporates both Main Street, but also the carousel and the Saranac Lake Laboratory. So we wanted to we used that one as a bigger area just because there was a couple assets, and the Hotel Saranac for that matter. The only one that we did as far as actual street area. I think a couple of the other ones we had was Dewey Mountain, the Titus Mountain, and we did the Akwesasne Casino just because we wanted to be able to see what kind of traffic is generated and where people are going before, after. Missing one, but I think that's most of them.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry, can I ask a question? You lost me on this. So what is this study? And you said it's 3 years. Is it 3 years going back or 3 years going forward? And who's doing the study, and when's the data available?
No, great question. So it's mobile tracking data. So what it will be is you'll be able to see how once you have any apps on your phone,
Yep.
that shares everything.
Yep.
It's a little scary. So the company, what it does is it'll give us access to a dashboard. So every month we'll get a report that shows of those locations that we've picked, how, kind of who was there, how long they were there, like the average time that was spent, where they came from. So you'll have a lot of data, and they've given us some samples. It's actually through NYSTIA, New York State Tourism Association.
Yeah. And you said you're going to get it for 3 years going back?
Yes, they'll also give us what's really exciting, I said, is that like, so it will be a monthly new information, but we'll also get 3 years of historic data to help as a baseline, which is cool.
And who contracted for it?
So each of the like what we did is we went in as the Adirondack Regional Tourism Council so the 7 counties went in together. And
Okay.
so
With NYSTIA or to NYSTIA?
Actually NYSTIA offered it was a co-op.
Yep. Okay.
So
Got
across
it.
all of New York State. So we might have some access.
I'm on that board too.
Yeah.
So,
You know, they started to show us sample dashboards, and they're still kind of really building it from the ground up. Like not the actual company, but what it's going to look like for New York. So we'll start to know more in March. But as we get that information too, that's information we can share because it can help better target marketing. You can see, you know, if there's any shifts or trends, or maybe, you know, we know that the traveler even in September looks different from where the traveler is coming in July. So being able to have some data to back up those thoughts and theories.
So who is getting the report, and when is that due?
The different tourism promotion agents. So I am Hamilton County, Mary Jane's Essex, Jeremy is Franklin. We'll have we said we get we've heard in the last time we looked at it. They said we'd get the first access probably get a demo in March, and then late spring for the full access. So
and it's not a report, it's a dashboard. So it's like it's real-time data.
Yes.
And it keeps being generated and available to us through the dashboard.
Mm-hmm.
Correlated with the past data.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. And Michelle, I'm sorry if I missed this, but is there the opportunity to add additional points of interest for additional money?
That's one thing I'd love to see. If we could, you know, once we have access and see it, hopefully it's as useful as we're as excited as it is, could we add on additional points of interest? I think that there would be value in the future of putting like Park Street maybe for Tupper Lake, because we've always, you know, we worked on building getting that kiosk in the Wild Center. We've always wanted to know that correlation between, you know, the Wild Center and coming downtown to experience the shops and dining. So could we look at doing something like that as well in the future? So those are questions would like to look at.
Michelle, you've taken my phone out of that, right?
Yeah, so the one thing it does, actually that's great to know, is so we did it doesn't track resident traffic. You know, they know that where you are a resident, so that doesn't skew it, and that is not part of that. It's visitor traffic. It was even like interesting, like doing Long Lakes. You'll take this, Hillary. It was like trying to do that main business district, but like even though it doesn't track locals, I don't want that school district in there, so I'm drawing these polygrams around. Like,
good luck with that one, right?
Yeah. There's some chats going on.
I had one other thing. I hate to keep going back to the cross-country trails, but that's where my heart lies. We've been trying to promote fat tire biking up there. We've got a groomer that we're grooming. Again, Patty Field's son Owen is going up and setting track for fat tire bikes, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of that type of activity. Is there a way that we could specifically push that in the coming year?
Absolutely. So do we have quite a few with fat tire bikes in Tupper that are using them? Like, is there other people that we can think of?
Yeah, younger people than me. Yeah, Owen's
I know
one.
Owen has one.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a good number. What we're hoping to do is get people from out of town to come and give it a try. We're trying to make that trail system, you know, multimodal with whether it's hiking, skiing, snowshoeing, fat tire bike, mountain bike. If we could somehow push that a little bit. And
absolutely. So I think step one so we can immediately hit the ground running is Patty, you have to tell Owen to get some photos to us so we can start immediately. And then our next photo shoot, Katie will coordinate making sure that we have some fat tire bikes, whether it's Owen or people from Tupper, but Also, the Roost team is full of a lot of mountain bikers too that we can bring along.
Okay.
Yeah.
John,
I'll add
Patty-
that to his list of things to do.
John Gillis might accommodate you too. He's got a fat tire bike and he keeps it right up there. So if there's an opportunity for a photo shoot, he might be willing to help out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Katie, Owen might let you take his for a ride so you can do it.
I've been looking at them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're cool.
That's a good idea, John. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
And also, actually, I had one more thing. I know when we were talking, I just want to throw this out here. When Brian was asking about kind of our approach to as things start to open, I think another example of like one of our next steps right now is we're putting together pieces kind of region wide that are really targeted at that 65 plus as well, as people are starting to get, that first batch of people to get vaccinated, and also those that were most likely to not travel in 2020 and we're staying close to home and are going a little stir crazy, creating stuff even starting to late February and moving through of itineraries that are appealing there as well.
That would be John, not me yet.
That wasn't directed at John at all.
I'm looking for stuff to do, believe me.
Somebody has cabin fever, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Sounds good, guys. Nice work.
And Jim came back. Jim, do you have any final?
Oh, he might fit in that category too. I don't know.
No, I don't. I think, I hope it was informative for everybody. I know, as I said, our team's been working hard on it. And it's good to hear, Jeremy, working together and doing this together, especially that the phone data will be a really good thing to launch other cooperative programs.
That's for sure.
Thank you, everybody, for all your time today. And thank you, Michelle and Katie, and of course, the rest of the behind the scene Roost team that's not here on the call. But thank you and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you
very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Good meeting. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Nice seeing everyone.